probably know me, I'm Amy DeLouise, and this is our very first Tequity Tuesday meetup, something we're going to try to do very often, at least once a month if we can do it. And this is the soft launch of our new Tequity HUB. So we're super excited about sharing our ideas with you and our feedback. And you don't have to feature Adryenn quite yet. And she's going to be featured in a minute, Chris, but I'm going to do a little spiel first. I wanted to be sure that everybody gives us feedback. So if you don't get a chance to give me feedback today, be sure to email us at galsngear@gmail.com, and we're happy to hear from you. So I wanted to start with a couple of shout outs. First to Chris and Karen and the team at Dundee Hills and Wall Street Communications. Yay, because they really have believed in our mission since the very beginning, and they have hosted many of our virtual events and are building out this hub for us. So we're really excited about that. I also want to shout out Carol Betancourt from Chiron, who's here. You can just give a wave, Carol. She's been a big supporter of what we're doing, and she will be part of our student program this year, and she'll be in the Chiron room in the SkillZone when we take a little tour. So thank you, Carol, for taking time out of your busy day. You're welcome. I know there's lots of our team members here, our strappy GALSNGEAR team, Zuri, Maria, Danilda, and Kimberly. So I just want to say thank you for all you do to make everything work and our messages get out and our events and all of that. I really appreciate the time you put in. So today, as you know, technology and tools are really changing fast in our media and entertainment industries, which means all of us might be missing out on a career opportunity or increased pay if we don't adapt and upskill. So whether we're in tech ourselves or we're managing people who are in tech, we really need to know what's the latest and greatest. So the idea of the hub is that here on the hub, we will create a one-stop shop for women looking to upskill. Companies who already have training can, for a very low fee that just covers some of our costs for running the hub, have host links to their content here. They can even have live trainers in rooms here. So for example, you'll see Riedel and Chiron both have great training programs, and we're hosting them here in the SkillZone. And guess what? A lot of this training is free, which is fantastic. And also we'll be supplementing some of that with some paid in-depth trainings of our own with folks like our own Ellen McKay and Susan Bork, who I see here, who've both been part of our leadership training series, and with groups like CGPro, who are really killing it with their Unreal Engine workshops. And we're going to meet Jackie from CGPro in a minute. So before we kind of move around on the hub, I thought it would be great to hear from somebody who's actually been part of our OG membership from the very beginning, the very first, literally the first day that I set foot in Vegas for an NAB show and started GALSNGEAR. So I want to introduce Adryenn Ashley for a quick Q&A. Hey, Adryenn. Thank you for always supporting women-led projects.
Always.
Adryenn is a titan of tech, a visionary of venture capital, and a blockchain trailblazer from before anybody knew what it was. You are hosting now Minting the Future, and you've just written Making the Web3 Pivot, which we're going to have a little sneak peek of available to our members when it's ready to go. So tell me, what are the opportunities for traditional businesses as well as media, women in media and tech organization, Web3 space?
Well, you know, what's really interesting is a lot of people get confused and they think Web3 is scary and they don't get it. And what they don't understand, it's just an up level of Web2. It doesn't have to be so, so mysterious. Think about going from a CD to a DVD. On a CD, you had the same format, a disc, it played music. A DVD actually played movies too. So it did more. Right? It held more. So think of Web3 like that. And when it comes to entertainment properties, this is going to be a game changer. I mean, how many of us have back libraries of stuff that either didn't get a traditional release or, we never quite finished, but now we can finish for much less money, things that I started years ago and I was like, I don't have $1 million to do that. And now I'm like, oh, I just need this $25 tool. Oh, cool. So now I have a whole bunch more content that I can put out there. My first film was Metal, dark, depressing art film about a Black man who can't get a job, shot on 16mm black and white. Starts with 8 minutes of a blind woman playing cello badly. It is a film, an artistic film. However, now we have the capability to actually up-res that to your traditional digital cinema format. And I'm gonna 4-wall that baby and submit it for an Oscar, because I can now. I couldn't 25 years ago, and we never had a theatrical release. So these are the kinds of opportunities that we have. And with Web3, you can actually create community engagement things like NFTs or commemorative things, or all of those t-shirts and all the swag and everything else that you make for your films and make for your projects. Like CG, like Unreal, when you go to a trade show and you're literally printing all of these t-shirts and they end up at Goodwill. Well, instead you could be giving digital versions of that people could then wear your swag in the metaverse. Because let me tell you, in 2021, I went to my Christmas party for the Billionaire Zombies Club naked. Why? Because I wouldn't pay $1,500 for a dress. So give away clothes, people will wear them.
Right.
It's a short and sweet. And when it comes to working, you know, people don't understand they already have the skills. We just call them something different in Web3. And once you understand the terminology, you are probably 95+% already qualified.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point about sort of knowing the language. I feel like a huge percentage of my time is just learning about what the lingo is that we now need to use to talk about. Really, I mean, there are some of them are new technologies for distribution, let's say, but some of them are just old technologies with a twist, you know, we have to understand how to talk about them.
Well, if you've ever been a startup entrepreneur, minus the fundraising piece, that's an ecosystem developer for a funded Web3 startup. If you've been a project manager, that's about 70,000 in Web2. It's about 150,000 in Web3. It's identical. It's called a supervising adult. Like literally what you've done in Web2 and all of the things that you have created in Web2, you just have more opportunity to amplify, monetize, and draw a greater audience in Web3. So that's why I'm really, really excited, especially for women. The one thing about Web3 that I absolutely adore, this whole decentralization thing, Web3 does not care what your gender is, doesn't care where you went to school, doesn't care anything, only about the quality of your project, your ability to hustle and build a community, and your ability to execute.
Right.
That's it. So there is no glass ceiling. There is no nothing. And women are flocking to Web3. And I think it's working because it really is. We've always, look at the GALSNGEAR's team. Like seriously, we can execute like crazy. And in Web3, there's nobody to say no.
Well, you talked about being an indie filmmaker when you first started out.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about blockchain because there's so many opportunities now. You mentioned about content and sort of gating your content, but also decentralizing the way you distribute it. And you don't necessarily have to go through the traditional distributors. So tell me just a little bit about like what that is doing for creators.
So you've all seen OnlyFans. What if, and now you can, there's a Web3 version where you can have your own portal completely built on Web3, decentralized. You can host your content, your films, your training courses, instead of Discord, which is a black box and very dangerous to mainstream consumers because of the scammers and the bots, you could have all of that on your community, and your community is on your domain. And your domain gets all the Google love and all the Google traffic because people don't leave because you're awesome. And it's just filled with awesome stuff in your community. It's this two-way interaction. So rather than just one to many, the people and the members of your community feel like they also have an ownership and a participation in the success of the community. So you can use NFTs. I have one for my community, and it is just a community access pass. And the reason I do it that way is because then they have to go through, the learning process of what is a wallet, how to get a wallet. The pass is free. They just have to go through the steps and secure everything. And I have this whole how to keep your S safe. I'm PG on GALSNGEAR.
I promised we would be PG.
I'm PG. I am PG. It's called How to Not Lose Your S.
Right. I get it. So So last question, you and I met because we're both very strong advocates for women in tech.
Yeah.
Why do you care so much about female participation in Web3 and emerging technologies? And what can we do specifically to get more women involved?
Well, we need to showcase more women-led projects. But the reason I'm so passionate is I have been an early adopter my entire life. I've always been the only girl. In fact, I was an internet marketer back in the 90s when girls weren't allowed. I was a boy named David selling woodshed toolkits for the backyard. Like literally, I had to be an internet marketer. I had to pretend to be a boy because there was no girls. So nobody would talk to you. And then I was the first girl in the room. And when it came to crypto, it was a very bro culture. And that was, it's not like I'm not used to going to parties in clubs with scantily clad people and, touting Lambos to the moon like that. That's just not a female culture. And what I've noticed is that when NFTs came out, you had so many more women participating because it was artistic, it was community based. There was usually some kind of a function or utility that drove innovation or opportunity for millions of people, right? So if you look at the female founded projects, they're things that are actually going to benefit the world in a really major way. And I want to support those because, clean water, clean air, probably a good idea. Opportunity for all, education, like the project that I launched educates 1 million women and girls in blockchain development and entrepreneurship, because we need to get those women founding these projects, but we also want them developing. And, there's a lot of opportunity because Web3, we are desperate. Like when it comes to like Unreal Engine and all of these different tools that we use in Web2, like we are short people. We want to bring as many people in to learn these technologies as possible. And then when you look at Web2 and blockchain, it's really not all that crazy different. If you know Rust, Node.js, and JavaScript, you're a Solana developer. Nobody knows that. Nobody thinks about that. They think it's some foreign thing. And the more women that we get in, the more diversity that we can build into the founding of this culture, then we won't end up with that bro culture that causes so many problems later. And so it's really important to seed that now with as many women and as many diverse communities and as many different ideas and perspectives as possible early on.
Love it. Yeah, it's very, very true. Very true. Well, that is a perfect lead into our next event on the Hub. Because we're going to talk to Jackie from CGPro about her Unreal Engine training. So thank you, Adryenn. We will stay with us, but you don't have to be on the main stage. So Chris, you can do that. And we will take a little tour. So let me let everyone just take a look through what we've got here. If everyone can take a look at the map view. I always find the map view is the easiest. What I usually do is open both tabs. So keep my tab open. If you have one screen, you might keep, minimize your view. So you're not necessarily seeing everybody. You can minimize your view, and then in the other tab, you can keep the map view open so you can see all the little chiclets that are on the screen. And that way you can zoom around and just click around to anything you want to see. So if you're in, I'll just show you my map view for just a second. So you can see on this map view, you can actually scroll up and down, but you could also look on the left side. You can see that we're all in the main stage right now. And that's the cool thing about the Hub, is that you can see where people are. So let's say, I want to have a meeting with Adryenn. I can say, oh my gosh, she's here. I didn't know she was coming to this. I can send her a message and I can say, let's go jump into the Connect room and have a minute to talk. So the idea is that you can move around at will. And so what we're going to do in a minute is we're going to jump over here to the Show It demo room. And that's where we're going to hear a little bit from Jackie, who's going to talk to us about Unreal Engine. So I think the exciting part of this whole idea is that in the SkillZone, we'll have people who have particular courses or workshops that you can take at your own leisure, at your own time. You'll be able to look around. Eventually, we'll have enough of them that we'll be able to categorize them by different areas of production and post and Web3 and other and leadership training. There'll be a lot of different categories. Right now, we just have a few of them there so you can see what they look like. So let's jump over to the Show It demo room, which you can get to, as I said, either on the left-hand side, if you prefer to navigate that way, you can click over there, or you can just click the tab on your main map view, and I will see everybody over there in just a moment.